Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I've got a really cool new reflex sight to review for you. And trust me, I have put a lot of work into this review. Countless hours, multiple days out in the desert, over 1,000 rounds put through for this particular review. And that's because this item is so new, there's not really a lot of good testing out there for this product yet. So I wanted to make sure that I put it through its paces. It wasn't anything too extreme, but I wanted to get some high volume rounds behind it and kind of see how it worked in my particular environment. My particular environment is a little bit harsh out in the Mojave Desert. I'm talking days of 115 degrees where the optic would seem like it's going to explode or melt. It gets so hot. Shooting and shooting and shooting for 8-9 hours at a time sometimes. Taking it out on trips and putting it on multiple guns with different users behind it. This is an optic that I have tested out quite a bit, and I'm confident that I have an established opinion that I can share with you now. And the optic that we're going to be looking at today is the new Hartman MH1 Reflex Sight. This thing is really cool. Now, since this is such a new optic, I'm going to try and be as comprehensive as possible in my review, show you guys all the different angles, show you exactly what it's about, and we're going to start by taking a look at the packaging and how I received it. So you can see here we have a cardboard outer layer. There's a nice plastic hard case that it comes in underneath. You can see that it says MH1 Reflex Sight. We have Hartman Aim High, and on the back when you flip it over, it gives you some of the MH1 main advantages. So you can pause right here if you'd like and go ahead and read that, and you can read all the different advantages. On the left here tells you a little bit about the CEO and founder. His name is Mikey Hartman, and he was 20 years in the IDF. As far as I understand, he actually helped develop their marksmanship program. So this is not somebody who just wanted to make an optic and, you know, was kind of like the big business type deal. This is somebody who actually has experience, and he developed this optic, from what I understand again. He developed this optic based on what he wanted and what his needs were out in the field. So it has all those things that he was looking for, and I think that's, you know, a pretty cool feature. It was designed by somebody who knows exactly what they want, not just somebody that's... On the other side is going to be our technical specifications. So you can see here, again, you can pause it if you want to be able to read that. USB lithium battery. It does have a backup battery, and it is USB rechargeable. Okay, so the window size right here, it's 35 by 24 millimeter, and that is a fairly large window. So for all those people that really wanted to hang on to their EOTech because they liked the big window, but they didn't like the BS that was happening and they ended up getting rid of it, look at that, 35 by 24 millimeters, and this thing's really big. It is a little bit heavy, 12.77 ounces, 10 brightness level, 5 day and 5 night, and I can tell you right now, these are really cool and easy to go through. That's one thing that I want to point out. This is actually an ambidextrous sight, which I think is really cool. Okay, so here is the hard case that it comes in. You can see that it says Hartman on the front. Again, aim high. Let's go ahead and spin this thing around. It is a lockable case, which I think is pretty cool. It's actually a pretty nice case, fairly thick plastic. It's not cheap at all. So we'll go ahead and we open that up, and here you can see that we have our optic. This little keychain right here is actually a tool, so it's not just, you know, a little, hey, I got a Hartman keychain free with my thing. Yeah, it's actually a little tool that will help you make your adjustments. So this little rounded piece right here fits right into your elevation and windage turrets, and you can also use it in order to open your battery compartment. So they give you that little tool right here. Right here is where the CR123 battery is, and this is the compartment for the CR123 battery. This does actually have two batteries, believe it or not, one that's rechargeable and then a backup CR123. And then here is our optic right here. Comes in, again, the nice foam case. We'll go ahead and take that out, and then in the lid we have our instructions and some other information as well. We'll go ahead and take that out so I can show you guys here. It does come with a little target that you can use to zero the optic at 25 yards, and then it comes with a thank you as well. So here is your technical manual. Again, this is what I was talking about. This is that letter saying, you know, thank you very much to the customers. And then here is the target that they give you to help you zero this thing in at 25 yards. So basically a 25-100 zero with this little target right here. Now I should also mention that in the box, one of the things you didn't see was a micro USB cord that it came with. And I took that out. I've already used it. I forgot to put it back in there. But the micro USB cord that it comes with actually serves multiple purposes. One, obviously you can recharge it. Like I said before, it does have a rechargeable battery that is in it, and you can charge it directly through the optic. But also you can actually connect this to your computer using an interface that they've come up with. All you have to do is go over to their website, you download the driver and the application software, and you plug this into your computer, and it pulls up a small user interface that actually allows you to then change some of the settings. So you can change when this thing goes to sleep, when it wakes up. You can change the intensity on the reticle, all different settings. So you have 5 different brightness settings in daytime settings, 5 different brightness settings for night vision. You can go into this interface and actually change those to make them brighter, darker. If you want level 4 a little bit brighter, you can change that. You want level 5 a little bit brighter, you can change that. You can change how long before it goes to sleep. At what angles does it wake up? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. So you have basically a completely customizable optic here, using just a simple micro USB and connecting it to your computer. So it is really advanced, and it's really cool. And I think that's going to be a plus for some people and a minus to some others, because there are some people out there who just like the basics. You know, a simple, let's say like aim point T1 or T2. It doesn't have any push button controls or anything. You simply turn it on and you turn it off using a dial on the side, and that's all there is to it. And there's always going to be those people who like simplicity. But technology is growing so much these days, and things are becoming so advanced that I feel like it's time for the red dot to maybe step in the future as well. And I think that's what they're doing here. And I think they did a pretty good job. Like I said, I've actually put more than 1,000 rounds through this thing so far, and I like it. I like it a lot. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the device itself, and I'll explain to you some of the features and some of the details on it. Now as you look at it right here, you'll see that the top part is kind of a different color and a different texture, and that's because this is, I believe it's proprietary, I could be wrong, but this is a really highly dense and tough polymer. Okay, so it is a nice tough polymer, and that kind of leads to the optic being a little bit lighter than it would be if this was made out of some type of metal. However, the part that actually attaches to the Picatinny rail section, that is metal, and that part does come with a really nice quick disconnect. And you can see right here that this lever takes up about the first front portion of the optic itself. It has a nice heavy cam to it, and it squeezes on the Picatinny rail. Excellent. There is a rubber cover on this side. You take the rubber cover off. Sorry for bumping that. You take the rubber cover off, and you'll see that there is a standard nut right there that you can use to kind of tighten this thing down and torque it down to your specific, requirements. But it does have a nice latch, and that latch is tucked away underneath the optic, so it's not going to catch on, anything. It basically just doesn't stick out. It's not obnoxious in any way. So if you have this hanging by your gear, it's not going to grab onto it and pull your optic off the rifle. And again, it is set up for 1913 style rail. It does take up a pretty good amount of your Picatinny rail section. So the way that I have it right now, you can see that we have the bar in the center, which is an actual square bar instead of a circle, so you're going to have a lot less play. But the way that I have it set up is you can move it a little bit forward, a little bit back, but I have it a little bit forward where it's kind of extending the part that's not latched onto my rail over the handguard instead of just the upper receiver, and that way I can get backup sights and things like that on it, and I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. Nonetheless, it is fairly large, and it does take up quite a bit of space. Now, as we look at some of the other features here on the side of the optic, you can see that we have our elevation adjustments, windage adjustments, and we also have our elevation adjustments located on the top. So on the side that has the adjustment on it as well as where our battery compartment is, this is where you're going to load the CR123 battery. Now, here's the interesting thing. This thing will work off of both batteries, one simultaneously or one without the other. Okay, so they really did kind of do it right there. So if you don't have a battery in here, it'll still run off of the rechargeable battery that's in the front. And if the rechargeable battery dies, it'll automatically switch over to the CR123. So you're not going to be without battery in this optic. And it does charge pretty fast. It has, according to them, a 2-hour charge time. I haven't let this thing run completely dead yet. To be honest with you, I have not been able to run it completely dead. But still, I haven't had a single issue with it. Now, they do give you a little bit of a warning, and that's one thing, again, that I like about this optic is, something that they thought about. When your battery is going to die, about 120 minutes, so 2 hours before your battery dies, the reticle will actually start to flash. It'll flash to let you know, hey, you know what, you only have a couple more hours of use in your optic, and that you might want to either A, plug it into a cigarette lighter and get that thing charged, put a new CR123 in the back, or figure out some way to power this thing. Your battery is getting low. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as well. It actually does give you a little bit of a warning. So pretty cool the way that they have the battery set up. Now, this thing is waterproof, and the cool thing about it too, and another thing that I really like and I think is well thought out, is that it's waterproof to 20 feet. And the cool thing is it's waterproof to 20 feet even if this front rubber cover for the USB comes off. So if this is off completely, the optic still remains waterproof. Now, you're probably asking yourself, by the front rubber cover here, you're going to see these two little spots, and that is for the remote that goes on the front of your rifle. So if you wanted to use that remote that I was talking about a little bit earlier, it's actually going to communicate through those clear plastic ports right there. So a very interesting little setup right there. Now, we're going to go to the back of the optic, and the back of the optic is something else that I thought was fairly well designed. Now, when you're talking about an optic, let's say like an EOTech, right? An EOTech has a flat back. And if you have the type of EOTech that has the buttons on the back of it, when you try and run a magnifier or night vision, something like that, that basically blocks you out of using those buttons if that magnifier or the night vision is flipped up in some way that it blocks those buttons. So what they did with this particular optic is they actually put an angle to either side and made the buttons ambidextrous. So the button on the left does exactly the same thing that the button on the right does. So whether or not you use your left hand or your right hand, or if you have a magnifier or night vision that's kind of switched over to one side or the other, and you can still use either side. And because it's at an angle, you can actually get your finger in between the magnifier or in between your night vision, whatever you have behind it, and still have access to your brightness levels and the settings that you might need. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the size of the window on this optic. It's big, it's really big. And to put it into perspective, when you're talking about a micro red dot that a lot of us are used to, like an aim point or a hollow sun or even a primary arms micro red dot, you're usually talking about a 20mm objective. This right here has a 24 by 35 millimeter objective. And so let's go ahead and we'll put a 20mm objective right up next to it so that you can see what the difference is. This is a hollow sun. This hollow sun right here has the same objective size as a standard aim point or the primary arms and a lot of other devices that are on the market these days. So you can see what the viewing area looks like versus a micro red dot. It's huge. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the reticle. The reticle is very well thought out, and I like the reticle quite a bit. Everybody that I've let shoot through this has actually enjoyed the reticle as well, and it has some pretty cool features. What it has is a single 2 MOA dot in the center, and then it has two lines that come off the sides, left and right, and those lines that come off of that 2 MOA dot allow you to level your rifle. So if you need to make adjustments for windage or elevation, you can actually use those lines to make sure that you're, elevating everything correctly, or adjusting your windage correctly, that if you need to make any type of holdover, let's say you're shooting at 200 or 300 yards, you want to make sure that the rifle is level. You can use that to level it over your target or under your target for that matter, and make sure that the rifle is level. So it's just a really cool design. And again, this is the Type A reticle. They have another one with the line that comes off of the bottom. I haven't used that one yet, but it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty intuitive. This one right here with the single dot and the lines is fantastic. Now, I do want to give a big shout out and thank you to Optics Planet for sending this out to the channel for review, because without them, there's no way that I would have been able to afford the optic plus $300 in ammunition and all the time that I spent away from the house in order to get this review finished. So I want to give them a big shout out, say thank you, and I want to let you guys know that I have my code as always, which is TDS5. You can use that at Optics Planet. I'll put a link down below where you can pick this thing up. Use that at Optics Planet, save yourself a little bit of money, and I would appreciate it as well. Using that discount code does help support the channel, so thank you very much for that. Okay, now it's time for my final opinion, and in my final opinion, I like to tell you the good and the bad about something. Sometimes there is no bad about something, but in this case, we have a couple things, but those couple things really aren't that big of a deal. Nonetheless, they are things that I wish would change a little bit. One, I feel this optic is a little bit heavy. 12.77 ounces, I mean, come on, that's a lot of weight to be putting on the top of your rifle for a simple reflex sight. I understand why it's heavy. It has 2 batteries in it, and it has a pretty good sized Picatinny rail at the bottom, but still, I feel like they could have shaved off a couple ounces there and maybe brought it to 10 ounces or under. I could be wrong. I'm not a designer of red dots, but that's something that I would like to see. I would like to see an optic that's 10 ounces or lighter, maybe in the future, I don't know. Another thing is, I do believe that they could add more brightness levels to the daytime vision settings. So instead of having 5, maybe you could have 8 or even 10 different levels of brightness. Now I know you can make those slight adjustments on the computer. Nonetheless, I'd like to see this get a little bit brighter at its highest setting. I don't feel that it's still bright enough. No, I want to take that back. It's bright enough. I would like it to be a little bit brighter. Just a little bit easier for me to pick up and see at its highest level. Other than that, that's it. That's the only downside that I see to this thing. Other than the overall weight and the fact that it could get a little bit brighter, this thing's pretty badass. I have to say, it's got an amazing field of view. I like that you can customize it. I like the fact that it goes to sleep and it'll save on your battery, but has extremely sensitive motion sensors in it. So when you pick it up, it'll wake itself right back up. There are some optics out there that shut off and go to sleep, and then you have to press a button or manually turn it back on, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I like the fact that it tells you that the battery is dying. I like the fact that it has a large field of view, a great window, a lot of different features. I like the fact that you have the option of getting a remote control for the front of your rifle. Even though I don't have it, that doesn't really matter. The fact that it's available, I think, is great. The fact that they made this to military standards, I think, is another good one. So again, I think it's definitely a great purchase. Absolutely. Now, I believe when I looked at it, it is about $5.99. Again, on the market right now. You can use my discount code if this is something you're interested in, save a little bit of money. And I feel that that's kind of right in the wheelhouse of some of these higher end optics. But to be honest with you, I think this thing offers a lot more. You know, I've been looking at a lot of the optics that are in the market that are comparable to this, and to be honest with you, they're either the same price or quite a bit more and don't offer as much as this one does. Now, whether or not you're somebody that's into technology or not, that is something that I believe is a personal preference. But as far as my personal preference, I like the added technology in this sight. So anyway, definitely something to check out. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did miss something, go ahead and click the link in the description box. You can read all the details down there, and as well as on Optics Planet. So definitely check that out. Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.